two headlines here. Tough on China, Mr Sunak, pull the other one. And then I'll send more migrants to Africa, says Liz Truss, as the Tory leadership favourite promises to expand refugee policy and protect UK's borders. Here's the point. So Liz Truss comes out and she says, soft on China, she says, Mr Sunak. Well, I'll tell you that in April, Boris Johnson, her great hero apparently, said, I am fervently Sinophile. What do you do? China's one of the biggest economies in the world. I think it's the second biggest, actually. So what do you do? Of course you trade.
Soon to be number one.
And then she lists various things. She goes, China brutally cracking down on peaceful democracy, illegally occupying the South China Sea. After such a litany, I have one simple question, Mr Sunak. Where have you been over the last 2 years? You may recall that last week Liz Truss said, neither Labour nor Tory governments have delivered the required growth. I say, only one question to you, Miss Truss. Where have you been? She was in the cabinet. She was financial secretary. She was chief secretary of the Treasury.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, and all this idea that tax cuts going to deliver growth. I mean, Patrick Minford, who was Thatcher's greatest economist, blah, 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 says it's absolute rubbish. So I'm fed up with this. I really am fed up with these people just hurling donuts at each other. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you do wonder, don't you, Darius, whether the gloves are off now, because the contest between these two has been polite hitherto, but the battle is now being played out on the front pages.
Yeah, well, it's an easy topic to go for. Like, what are you going to do about China? There's nothing you can really do about China. It's a lose-lose situation. She knows that she can say, "What can you do?" without saying.
It's
what
like
she's
you as a comedian, right? Doing gigs for horrible promoters. It's like, well, am I going to work or am I going to not work?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've got to do what you have to do. And China, like you say, soon to be the number one economy in the world. So obviously you've got to trade with them. You've got to deal with them. They're a very powerful country.
And it's the balance, isn't it? I mean, you've got to trade. You're absolutely right. And then you've got to worry about security and whether there's, they're harvesting information. I get all that. Everybody gets all that. It's just stupid to say, what are you going to do, Mr Sunak? It's like playground stuff, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about Simon's point also that it's actually hard for either of them to criticise the other because they've both been sat in cabinet. We've got this thing called collective cabinet responsibility, which means everyone in the cabinet signs off on all policy. You'd need to be a figure like Penny Mordaunt, who wasn't in the cabinet, to have an advantage at this stage. I feel they're cancelling each other out somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're arguing over... They've both got the same position, so what's the point of the argument? It makes no sense. To me, I don't know, I'm not particularly interested. I think, China, if you're going to deal with them, you need to call them out on what they're dealing with, the Uyghurs and... All
I was going to say was it's the old joke, isn't it, how much they hate each other. It's the old joke where they say, they point across the Commons and they go, that's the enemy. And the hoary old politician goes, no, that's the opposition. That's the enemy.
Yeah, you'll say, right.
Your own lot,
That's right, that's right. And I just wonder, before we move on to the next story, Darius, you're an accomplished performer. Who do you think's a better performer between these two? Who's got the X factor, do you think, Sunak or Truss?
I like Sunak. I like him just because he gave me a grant during the COVID. Done more for me. I like the.
You've been bought, basically.
Yeah, I've been bought. But I I think he looks good. I think it's good. It'd be good for Britain to have be the first Asian prime minister. It will show that what actually the Tories look with despite what Labour say. This would be the first the first party to have female prime minister. The first party to have a first Asian prime minister. So I think it'd be good. I like Rishi Sunak, and he gave me money, so all good for me.
Yes, I mean, finally on this one for you, Simon, they're trying to outright wing each other, aren't they? And Rishi Sunak did an interview earlier this week, and he used the word Thatcherite 4 times in one sentence.
In one sentence?
Yeah, which even Margaret Thatcher didn't manage that.
That should go, we. But yeah, they are trying to... But, I mean, what that identifies is this ludicrous way in which, these leaders are chosen. Both parties choose their leaders by the members. And I know that sounds like a good idea. There's not more than 200,000 members of the Conservative Party. I don't know how many Labour members there are. It's, it's bonkers. We're choosing the next... We're not choosing the next Prime Minister. I don't know why the debates on television. It's nothing to do with us. We don't get a chance at all. So they're just appealing to them.
Well, yes, that's the issue, isn't it? And I always think that MPs are probably the best judge of who should be leader because they're the ones that need to keep their job and win the next election. They're always going to back somebody that can achieve power rather than the best sort of spiritual leader. I mean, didn't that happen under Labour, that the grassroots voted for Corbyn because they just loved his ideology, but they didn't think for a second, let's get someone who can win.
No, there was no one in the country who thought, he looks like a prime minister. He sounds like all those policies. That'll be...
That's how MPs think, but not how the grassroots think.
Absolutely, it was bonkers.
And briefly, who for you has got the X factor, Sunak or
I agree
Truss?
with you. I mean, I think that... it feels to me like you've got a grown-up, i.e. Sunak, and, I mean, I'm no Conservative, but you've got a grown-up in the room. On the other hand, I guess if one was a Labour member, you'd want Liz Truss, because actually, I think that'll be a disaster.
Oh, no. Lefty Fanshawe gives his support to Sunak. The kiss of death.